komme aus Istanbul, aus der Türkei. Ich bin einer von den Editoren. Ich spreche Deutsch. Okay. I am Barış. I'm coming from Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm one of the editors of satirical magazine Uykusuz, which I also brought here. And I want to just give you to have an idea how it looked like. So, and I'm very happy to be a part of SPIELART Festival here this year. And today I would like to deliver a presentation about the role of satirical magazines in Turkish media. And for that I want to start with the structure of the Turkish media, how it looks like. So, the Turkish media industry has gone into a transformation during the 90s, and it emerged from this transformation a media which only generates losses rather than profits. So, to be honest, there is no single newspaper in Turkey which can generate profit from advertising or their sales, or any television channel. So every media group bought a bank or has been bought by a bank. So it was the emergence of a media which is dependent to corporations and government. So on the other hand, the satirical magazines also has gone into a transformation. Before that, the satirical magazines belonged to the media companies, and they weren't independent. But with the dependency of the media companies to government and corporations, so the satirical magazines became undesirable by these media companies. So they have closed down all the satirical magazines, although they were generating huge profits. So then the artists of satirical magazines have decided to publish their magazines by themselves. So they have turned, like you see, limon has turned into lemon. So with slight change, limon means exactly lemon, and lemon is a female Turkish name, which is awkward for a title of a magazine. But as you can see, you can understand that it is the old limon. So it was in the beginning of the 90s. A similar transformation, a former satirical magazine, Uygur, turned into HBR. So everybody knew what it was, but they were independent now. So only the artists who were drawing and writing at the magazines owned the magazines. So currently we have 4 different satirical magazines in Turkey. The oldest being Lemon, with approximately 30,000 circulation every week. So the other one is Uygur. Actually, they are not that independent. They belong to a newspaper. And there is Penguin. They are also going to be sold approximately 50,000, 55,000 every week. And there is us, being the most selling weekly magazine in Turkey, with sales figures between 70,000 and 80,000. So, on the other hand, so we are solely independent, and we don't take any advertising. So, as you can see in your magazines in your hand, we don't have any advertising from any commercial company. So we are extremely free. Nobody can blackmail us, or nobody can say us something, censorship, or something else. On the other hand, as you can see from this chart, the biggest Turkish media companies are, so the Doğan Media Group with 8 newspapers, 7 TV stations, 1 digital network consisting of 50 or 60 TV stations, 4 radio stations and 20 plus magazines are actually 2 energy companies, 3 factories, 3 marketing companies, and these are huge companies, billion-dollar companies. So while these medias are generating losses, these losses were covered from these companies, and to be able for these companies to generate profit, they have to have governmental contracts. So they have business with government. And to continue these businesses with government, to get more government contracts, so they have to support the government. So it's obvious. And as you can see, other media companies are also very integrated with commerce and industry. So almost everyone has 1 or 3 or in some cases 8 different energy companies selling electricity or producing it. The thing is, these whole media companies who are dependent to the government can be vanished at any time if a government, for instance, just refuses to give them more governmental contracts, or sometimes they can even confiscate some cash cows of these companies with actually fair reasons, and then the media company, of course, vanishes. That's the reason, I think, why these media companies in Turkey are fully dependent to government. And of course, the government is also dependent to these media companies too for support, for their support. And for the essence of the media companies, I would like to lastly say, at last, just imagine the Bild Zeitung in Germany, and we have approximately 30 different Bild Zeitungs. So they are already all copies of Bild Zeitung. So nothing serious, nothing deep. So there is actually no newspaper. And it is also very difficult to execute journalism in Turkey. So as for yesterday, I received the news, Turkey is the first country in the world, so in the first rank with the number of journalists in jail. So, and that's actually the number of real journalists in Turkey. So if you want to know how many journalists are in Turkey, then you just have to look to the jail, you have the number. So, in a short conclusion, while the mainstream media became dependent, the satirical magazines, on the hand, in mid-90s, became fully independent. And we really generated enough profits to survive, enough profits to not to take advertising, enough profits to live on. So the Gezi incident, on the other hand, has happened under these circumstances, with such a media company, with such a structure. So you all, of course, saw what happened more or less at the Gezi Park in Istanbul, at least more than the people in Turkey, because in Turkey we also watched the European and American televisions, so because our televisions didn't show anything, so everybody was calling each other, oh, I give you a link, this is a link for the Norwegian television, you can see, okay, go to the Norwegian TV, and somebody calls, oh, open up CNN International, there is something, okay. So it was us during the Gezi protests trying to know what's going on. Actually, I was on the street, but our families mostly are trying to go what's going on, and they have to watch Norwegian television or CNN International for the first time in their lives. So you know what happened there, more or less, but I have to provide some background information. What was going on towards the Gezi incident? What was the main issues? So it is, of course, not just because a park, which is actually important, has been overthrown, but was going to be demolished. But there were some certain issues in Turkey, especially in central Istanbul. For instance, gentrification. So government really, I think it's also a very wrong policy, wants to turn everything into a shopping mall and into a hotel complex. So they really think that tourism in Istanbul is growing, and it's true. Istanbul is the third city in the world, in the whole world, in tourism numbers. So it is just after New York and Paris. And government thinks, okay, so many people are coming to Istanbul, then build more shopping malls, sell them more stuff and build more hotels. But they don't come to Istanbul for shopping malls. They don't come to Istanbul to sleepovers, you know. They just couldn't get this essence of tourism. They are trying to change and gentrify the whole central Istanbul, which is Beyoğlu, which is approximately the only place where you can live freely, so where you can go to bars. Almost every bar, so 80% of the bars and clubs are in Beyoğlu. So it is not widespread in Istanbul. So tourists are coming to Beyoğlu, of course, to have a drink, to walk around, and the government thinks okay, the tourists are coming here, then build more shopping malls, turn this theater into a shopping mall, turn this museum into a shopping mall, turn this bar into a shopping mall. So why should the tourists come to Istanbul then? I also think that it's a very wrong policy. So there was also another issue of the new regulations on alcoholic drinks. So Turkey never banned alcoholic drinks. It is very harsh policy to introduce. But they make it so that it is impossible for people who are earning less to drink alcohol. So when you are paying for instance, Schneider Weisse here, as we have talked about it yesterday, just €1 at the store, we have to buy €6 for one bottle of decent German beer. And our beer, it's something around €2, for instance, on stores, not at bar. So it is very hard to drink. And also the clubs, the bars, the locals which are selling alcohol has to pay more and more taxes every year. And somehow people get the idea, somehow people are dissatisfied with this. And the last straw about the issue was that the government has banned the sale of alcohol drinks between 10 p.m. and 6 p.m. So you are going to sell, as a shop owner, alcoholic drinks just between these periods. So nobody is going to buy some alcoholic drinks at noon. And there is also, maybe I should also explain these titles, which we here it says, for instance, kids drinking is illegal. Tayyip Erdogan sign PS, so I kiss you, Tayyip Erdogan, and PS, no, joking, kissing is illegal too. And another issue is being attempts to separate female and male students in schools, for instance. So a more recent issue is attempts to ban living together, so VGs, so female and male students living together, it is inappropriate and we have to take some measures. How can you take some measures? So I'm 20 years old and living with my girlfriend, but you are a student. Okay, I'm 35 years old now and I'm still a student, and what are you going to do to me? So, okay, I'm married, but I didn't have to be married. So, and these attempts were also criticized, of course. So this here says, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, before he sleeps, oh, I wish that all country get married and I could get a decent sleep. So he just wants us to marry each other and have 3 kids. So these were tiny, maybe not so tiny for you, but tiny issues towards the Gezi Park. And it's also important to note that there are a significant number of people in Turkey who define themselves as followers of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and the government's attempts to remove the Kemalist essence from the state faced also a huge opposition from Kemalists, which I do not share. For instance, the government also took some liberal measures, whatever it is, so they allowed the women to be free to wear their headscarves in schools or even now in parliament. So I find okay, but it also faced a huge opposition, and it's also important to note. But the most important points towards the Gezi Park was two very unfortunate massacres. The one being the Rogoski massacre, where the Turkish air forces has made a bombardment to a Kurdish village, and 34 villages were killed. And as you can see in this title of our, so any television has reported about the issue. So we learned it from Twitter. We learned it from emails coming to us from the region. And we tried to check the fact. So we tried to read the online newspapers, or we tried to watch in television what's going on. Has the Turkish Air Forces bombed villages? No information at all. And then that's what we have to do as a title. So the reporter only asks, can you say how it has been happened to the villages? But like the three monkeys, their microphones, the televisions will not report about it. And there is, just before a couple of the weeks of the Gezi incident, there is another massacre, Reyhanlı massacre, a terrorist attack which killed over 50 Turkish citizens. And it came out that the perpetrators of the terrorist attack were probably, nobody knows still, they were probably the Turkish-backed paramilitia fighting against the Syrian government. So we still don't know why they do it, maybe to enforce Turkey to go to war with Syria. And the massacre is actually, so there were a very controversy of that the massacre might be the result of the controversial foreign policy of the government. But again, you also couldn't watch it on televisions, at least instantly. You also couldn't read it in newspapers, the opposite arguments about it. And on the meanwhile, Minister President Erdogan was in United States visiting Google campus and the new features of Google Map, and you could see in television that he was visiting Google campus and he was trying to find his own village in Google Maps. He was very happy, and that's why we turned a very famous photo from the massacre into a caricature. So it says, "See us too," not your own, not the village of yours in Google Maps. At least look at us from Google Maps, so you are in Palo Alto. So I also want to add that what the Gezi Park is in Taksim Square, and the Taksim Square is also regarded from the leftists and unions as the traditional square for May Day celebrations. And almost in every May Day, we had these scenes. I really don't think that I need to translate anything. So the Super Mario representing the Turkish laborers, and these are the cops who are chasing him in Taksim Square. And these are our traditional May Day titles. So, like every year, the same thing happens. It is a new legislation that the cops has to wear numbers in their hats to be known when they execute violence. But here you see they distribute numbers to the workers, so they share the workers. He says, oh, okay, let's begin with 50. And in another May Day, for instance, it was impossible to go to Taksim Square because it was fully crowded with cops, so 50,000 cops were there. So as you can see, you couldn't be in the Taksim Square if you weren't in the hat of a cop. So these were the things which, oh, okay, we have very little time. So these were the things before the Gezi incident, what brings us to the Gezi incident. And you all saw these pictures. So at the first day there were only 30 people. I know some of these people, and I even mocked them. Oh, what are you going to save the trees? Come on. Really, they were my friends. I was mocking them. But at the morning they have encountered this. And then people were a little bit angry. Then it came to 3,000. Then there were 3,000 people, and then they burned the tents. So they were more fierce and more fierce at every step. And when the third police attack came on the 31st May, then it became this. The huge crowd that I ever saw in Istanbul. So according to the numbers provided by the police department, these are in general in whole Turkey 4.5 million people who attended to the protest, and for Istanbul it is 3 million. So it is the most crowded political protest ever in the history of Turkish Republic, and in the Ottoman Empire there were so many people in Istanbul too. So as you can see, they were also so fearless. So I couldn't understand why they were there and how they could be that brave. I'm attending to the political protest since 1993, and I was suddenly a coward. I was trying to, hey guys, okay, come, let's get back. But no, they were fighting back and back again. And I think that's the only essence, that's the most significant point about these kids, mostly kids, what the politicians or journalists or even political analysts couldn't understand. These kids were a different sort of kids. These kids weren't political. No, yes, of course, everything is political, but these kids weren't interested in parliamentary politics. They just said, we already have a father, we don't need any second father to Erdogan. I don't even listen to my own father, I'm not going to listen to you. That was the reaction of the kids. And meanwhile, when you saw all these, it was happening on Turkish TV channels, so game shows, and this is also, I have to go. This is famous. You also, it is real-time taken picture when CNN Turk was showing penguin documentaries. This was happening in Turkey. This was happening in Turkey with more than 1 million people in Taksim Square. That never happened. Okay, let's show some penguins. And what was the reaction of the protesters to that? Of course, I was going to be angry. I was going to crush the CNN TV. No, they just brought penguins to the square. Okay, if you just want to show penguins, we have penguins too. So they stenciled every wall with penguins, and they turned themselves into penguins. Okay, come on, let's shoot. Why don't you shoot us, you asshole? We are penguins. If you really are into penguins then. So I really would call it an utopia. They lived a couple weeks, 2 weeks behind the barricades. So they set up the barricades. They weren't members of the illegal political parties, political organizations. I knew them because, even the extreme leftist organizations, even the illegal ones, were surprised, that they were shocked. what's going on? What are these kids doing? They were building barricades, and then the day after they cleaned up the park, they set up a library. Actually, one of my fellow workers has tried to said, okay, why don't we build a library there? And he go and he set up. So it was really an utopia. So this is the store, revolution grocery, where everything is free. So you can bring and you can have, and the diversity was incredible. So the Muslims were there. So they were praying while the other protesters were protecting them. Okay, now let him pray safely from the police attack. And there were people from Cihangir, from the most shikimiki places of Turkey, making yoga, and they were lesbian, gays, and bisexuals. So the LGBT people, they were respected for the first time in their lives. They were so much respected. I heard people were saying, "Oh, have you seen that faggots? They were manly more than anyone." So that was complimentary for them. But people, they had really, every day for them was a pride day in Taksim. They had, for the first time maybe, Muslims have met the transsexuals. They loved each other. For the first time ever, the anarchists met the Trotskyists. So they... Okay, they weren't right into the bed, okay, they weren't right very close, but at least they were together. And for the first time ever, you could see Kurdish people with the most aggressive Kemalist, nationalist people escaping together from the police. So the first one is carrying the flag of the Kurdish party in Turkey, which is affiliated with PKK, and the other one is waving what I call the confederational flag, so a Turkish flag with Atatürk on it. And they came together for the first time, really. And I heard many nationalist people in streets, they were talking, shit, for 30 years long, we learned what happens in Kurdistan from these media. Maybe they were lying, them too. Maybe not all of them, but at least a significant percentage of nationalist people in Turkey have really questioned what was going on during the very dark years of 90s. So, and humor, I was here just for the humor, but I already talked too much and I have very time. Do I have still time?
Yes.
Okay. So, you see the Tacit man, I don't know if you know, but if you be in pepper gas, you have to put some anti-acid into your face, being Tacit or Reni. And this guy, for instance, turned himself not into Spider-Man, not into Batman, but a Tacit man, providing Tacit to the people who are escaping from the pepper gas. So it relieves, it makes a certain relief. And as I was speaking that they were brave, that they were drunk brave. So in this picture, I don't know if you can understand it, but some protesters have stolen an excavator, a heavy construction vehicle. They stole it and they drove it towards the cops. So it was a drunk braveness. You don't do this normally. You don't chase the police with excavators. So it is not something that happens every day. So, and they were all ridiculating the police attack. So this is taken from the window of a cosmetic shop, saying that the pepper gas makes your skin beautiful. And one of the most important aspects of it, here it says, you have teased a generation that has beaten the cops in GTA. So, as the police, I was like, okay, what's that supposed to mean? And then I learned out that there is a video game called Grand Theft Auto in which you beat the cops. And these kids in the street, these new kids, the first time they were first time in their lives in the street. And they were defining themselves as GTA players. We have beaten the cops in the game. Why not now? They were speaking with terms of, for instance, Thai winter is coming. And then I learned that it's a phrase from the famous TV series Game of Thrones. And I had to watch it, okay? And it really fits. Winter is coming, yes. And it was not once, it was all overall. So hit me Thai one more time, you have to know the sun. And the journalists, the political analysts, they just regard them as some English expressions. Yeah, no, it was another language. Welcome to Fight Club. You have to watch the David Fincher movie or you have to read the novel. So our job was more difficult than ever because everybody has taken our job. Everybody was making humor on the streets. What are we going to do? So we devoted the whole issue of the Gezi event to the Gezi events. So we tried to catch for the first time our readers who are between 14 and 24 mostly. So it was actually the essence of the events. So it was like a mass multiplayer game. I don't know if you know World of Warcraft or something like that. They were fighting in corporation. I saw people, okay, let's go to the clubs, and yet if when they are exhausted, they resisted in shifts. Every club, every bar in Beyoğlu has turned into a headquarters. So people were drinking, okay, the guy says come, okay, let's rescue, we go. And the police was always the same, they couldn't go anywhere. So they resisted in shifts. I for myself went to clubs 4 times. So let's have a beer, okay, let's go back. And then I couldn't beer anymore, all tear gas, etc. Then I go to the bar again, wait for my shift. You know, it was really, when our magazine whole turned into a devotion to the Gezi events. And I want to add what our magazine has what is the difference? It is not only the same figures, not only the thing that we sell 80,000 every week. So we don't have actually a Facebook page. We don't have official Facebook page. Don't ask me why. We just don't have. But we have some fan pages in Facebook. It is not affiliated with us. Some kids have founded it, and it has, you see, 1.9 million followers. And it is not the only fan page in the world. There's another one with 584,000 followers. And that's another thing that I found. That these are all different unofficial fan pages, followed by something 2 million people. And the most important, the biggest newspaper in Turkey. So, and we also do not promote these, and actually we are kind of annoyed because they are giving our material for free, but we don't take any action. So, and the biggest newspaper in Turkey, Hürriyet, their official Facebook page, they promote it in their website, they made even TV commercials for it. They just have officially 500,000 followers. And I doubt maybe they also bought it, so you can also buy followers in Twitter and Facebook. So this is actually the difference between the traditional media and the satirical magazines in Turkey. We are heard more by the people who are going online, especially these kids fighting in the streets. They were trusting us more than the traditional newspapers. I hear the phrase, oh, I don't read newspapers, I just read many times. So every week I receive a couple of mails that they are indicating that they are just reading us, not the newspapers. Okay, I'm coming to the end. Finally, I will relieve you. So I'm actually extremely satisfied with the media's position in these uprisings. Everybody has realized, if they not before, that these media is full of crap. They never tell the truth. They lost their prestige forever now. Nobody believes in the media anymore. Maybe before that, people more or less were suspicious about it. But now, they lost their whole... so it is... The media in Turkey will never be trusted again. And... these were also... I talked about the language of the protesters, and there were also universal slogans, universal phrases in these uprisings. That you could see in 68 of Paris, that you could see in Seattle, that you could see in everywhere in the world. So basically very universal slogans were there. You could see every famous slogan everywhere. You could see ACAB everywhere, which I also learned now what that means. But the only slogan which was absent in Gezi Park protest, it is important, I think. They wrote everything, but they didn't wrote this. They wrote every single slogan which is available in the literature of political protests, but nobody wrote no future. I think that's a sign showing that there is indeed a hope for the future in these kids' minds. And I think that's what is important. Now you are free. Okay. So do we have time?
Are there any questions? Comments?
I want to add something.
Yeah.
We are not reached the right news. For example, the terror killed 35 villagers, and 16 minutes Turkish air fight goes and bomb, and they 12 hours after they announce it, but not right things announce it.
Yeah, sure.
That's
even
the part.
I don't know. Even the Turkish media gave news about something. It is also a sort of disinformation. For instance, about the Gezi Park incident. Turkish media produced news that the protesters in Gezi Park were sort of sexomaniacs who made love in mosques and drank in... Why should I make love in mosques? So it is not that kind of imitating. And they even produced false witnesses who came to the television and said, I was in Gezi Park, I saw them drinking cat blood. What? It wasn't a joke, it wasn't an exaggeration. I'm not exaggerating. They really produced a witness who showed the protesters while slaughtering cats and drinking their blood. They went this far ridiculous. And really, I can really say, how can I understand that people do not believe in the media anymore? When you say these kids have made love in mosque 20 years ago, well, even for just a rumor that the leftist has bombed the mosque in somewhere, in Turkey more than 100 people have died in some places. But this time, even the most conservative, even the most right-wing Muslim people didn't believe to the media. If they have believed what media said to them, if they have believed what Erdogan has said to them, Erdogan has told they drank in mosques, they made love in mosques. we all were screwed. So they really didn't believe what the media say. They just believed what their own kids say. Yeah.
Thank you very much for this nice speech. I loved it. And thank you for inviting him. I think it's really a very important, and for this topic, a really good, gave me a lot of insight, even though I'm Turkish and I can read a lot of Uykusuz and Penguin, I know, but it was really very inspiring. And my question is this, Uykusuz, for example, what kind of people are working on this page or this magazine? Can you, is it do you say it's leftist, or is it a special, how can I
would say that all these magazines, the artists and the authors of these magazines are mostly from socio-economically from mid to lower social classes. So I'm coming from lower mid social class. So as my friends in the magazine. So with about the political essence, so I would consider myself an anarchist for most of my life. But if I'm at the magazine, well, it is not really so. We are disrespectful jackasses about every politics when we are in the magazine. So we really, if leftists were at the night in our magazine, they would beat us too. So we are really disrespectful in every sense against every politics when we are in the magazine. So we can't even, so our censorship is actually not because of the government. Our censorship, a little bit censorship, is because of the readers. I really can understand it. It is because we have gone, so we can go too outrageous about everything.
I just have a question based on my impression, and I want you to, just my impression, and I want you to say if you think it could be right or something. I think that the people in Turkey, they didn't even react to this rumor.
Yeah.
You know, this stupid rumors about Gezi Park. Because I have this feeling that in spite of Greece, whose government, the conservative government, is a result of the society which becomes conservative.
Yeah.
In Turkey, the conservative government goes against the progress of the Turkish people and how progressive slowly they become. This is the feeling I have, that this Tayyip Erdogan, even if he's has succeeded on the financial terms, I mean, that's what people believe, etc. What he tries to do now, it's something against the flow in Turkey. He tries, I have this feeling, he tries to get things backwards, but he can't do it anymore.
Well, I'm not an expert on Turkish society, so it is a very...
No, I mean, what's your feeling? I know that Istanbul is not Turkey. I know that.
Yeah.
Of course. But I mean, as a how you say? I mean, as a middle term, what's your feeling about it? I mean,
well, in Turkey, people mostly vote because of pragmatic reasons, and that's why Tayyip Erdogan always wins the elections. So he really wins. So he doesn't speak if he don't have any results of polls, for instance. At the last case, he had a poll result which indicated that 75% of Turkish parents were not that satisfied. They wouldn't be satisfied if their daughters were living with another man. That's why he proposes these things. It is not against the flow. No, he just reads the society very well. But even the 75% is dissatisfied now. So he couldn't calculate the consequences of his proposals very well. But about the flow.
Yeah, but in spite of what you said, that people don't believe the media anymore. So they believe on these researchers.
They don't believe into media.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
even though they don't believe, they can vote for Erdogan anyway. So it is a very complicated issue. It is a very pragmatical style of voting. So I don't know why they vote, why they vote for. So I don't vote. So I really can't get the essence of voting anyway. Okay.
For us, I'm Greek and I was talking on the Syntagma Square on Friday, and I'm sitting here with a colleague from Spain. He was talking about Puerta del Sol on Saturday, and we are looking at this and we feel very many similar things from what we have experienced, and it is a very strange moment to hear someone who is speaking, talking in a way you would talk to him also about the same things. It's a very strange moment, which we're talking about a new political language, this humoristic political language. This is also an experience that there's new people without the left who articulate new languages, and because we talk about what I want to say is it's very similar with us too. Yeah. And the second thing is because we were talking about satirical magazines. A satirical language. The question would be, do you think, because you would say I'm an anarchist, but actually I make fun of anyone. And I had the impression also that in these movements people didn't want to categorize themselves in one political field, but maybe would make fun of everyone. Or I don't know, but I wanted to ask is if you think that your language, how you saw your language, or if you saw your language in these protests, and what this might mean, that maybe the political language starts to become satirical, or starts to become, I don't know, a new term.
Yeah, I say that. So the very interesting thing, after the protests especially, so I talked with a lot of people who were in traditional politics, who were from extreme left to the extreme right. They were present at the Gezi Party during the occupation. They tried to gather new members. They even lost some members. So it was really difficult for them. So they couldn't comprehend what's going on, and as they have tried to gather new members, so some Trotskyists are giving flyers, handouts, anarchists were working, so Stalinists were working. They lost their members, not gathered any new one. So these new guys are actually the kids we were accusing since years. You are always at the computer, you don't interest with anything. And they showed us, okay, I don't interest, and why should I interest? Why should I read newspaper, as you say? It's already right. Let me play the Counter-Strike, I'm gonna blow his head off. And I met young people who were organizing themselves, not only via Twitter, via these chats and forums of these mass multiplayer games. I saw 3 kids, so they were escaping from the police, and I took them into my business. So as we were talking, I told them, how did you communicate? So we were playing World of Warcraft, and we thought, why not go to there? They were just communicating through the chats application of World of Warcraft. And this is a new kind of young people that we really have accused since years. You are always online, you are always playing games, you don't read newspapers, you don't watch news channels, you just watch these silly Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad or these serials. And they told us, so what? It was their way of saying us, so what? I don't read newspapers, so you read. What's the difference? And they felt better than us.
But were they used of being apolitical? Because in Greece, for example, people accused the Indignados movement of being apolitical.
Yeah, sure. they were accused being apolitical since my generation was also being accused for being apolitical. So every new generation were accused of being apolitical too, I guess. So, but it is true that they were accused being apolitical. They were accused being uninterested for anything. They don't. Most of the people regarded them as morons who were just playing games. So they just appear to our imagination not with their faces, with their backs, because they always sit in front of computer. They don't talk with you. You see them as backs, not faces. And these people showed us that it's not true what we think about it.
I'm afraid we have to close the discussion now, but I'm sure there will be enough possibilities today to maybe continue with the discussion. So
Yeah, it was good to be here.